Hey everyone, my name is Mikkel and welcome to another episode in my series about Logic Pro 10. Today I want to talk about automation and the various tools Logic Pro has to offer for it. So before anything else, I want to talk about what automation is. And basically automation is just having the DAW perform a task automatically for you over time. And this could be something as simple as doing volume changes or changing parameters of a plugin. So I have Logic Pro 10 open right now and I'm going to show you some of the basics of automation. So let's see here. Okay, so here I have a short audio project that I did for a Neural DSP competition. Now, in order to turn on automation, all you're going to do is hit A on your keyboard, and you'll see that now the tracks are going to change. You're going to be darkened a bit, and you'll see a dark line going to the middle of them. So when these tracks are dark, it means that for whatever parameter you have enabled, whether it be volume or any of these, let's say I go to pan, right? It'll still be dark. That just basically means that the automation is disabled. In order to enable the automation, you could just simply click on a track, and then you'll see here it'll highlight, the line will turn yellow. When the lines are yellow, that just means automation is on. It could also be green depending on the parameters. So if I go again back to pan, you'll see a green line this time. So the color of the line will just depend on whatever parameter you have selected, but if the line is highlighted, it does mean that the automation is enabled. So I'm gonna go ahead and disable it and go back to volume. Okay, so there are multiple different ways you can create automations on Logic Pro 10. The first way is simply by using the pointer tool, and that allows you to pre-write automation. So all you need is to have your automation enabled on a track, and then from there you could create different points simply by right-clicking. So now I have a couple of different points, and then from there you could actually edit the parameters of each point, and it'll create a linear slope between these points. So a lot of people, what they do is they just create multiple different points to have more control. But what you could also do is actually use the automation curve tool, and that will help you create curves between automation points. So with the automation curve tool, all you have to do is press T, then W for the shortcut. And then from there, you could just move your mouse around and try to get that curve that you want. Now, most people, what they do is just create multiple automation points throughout it. And let me show you. Say here, say I wanted to have dip from there. And then I want to go sharp back up, but then I also want to go back down. So now if I play back, you hear the volume swell. It'll drop all the way down to this point, go back up, go all the way down. And if you want to edit any of the points, you could also just use the automation select tool here, TU. From there, you just click, and you can move it around from there. So again, if you want to change the slope, just use the automation curve tool. And then if you want to select any automation points, you can use the automation select tool. All right. So the other way you could create automations, let me just delete all this, is actually by using the Marquee Tool. So with the Marquee Tool, allows you to do whole ducts in parameters. So let's say I have Marquee Tool, which by the way, to open the Marquee Tool, you could just press T and then R. It'll change your mouse to that. From there, I'm gonna select this whole area. And then what I do is go back to the pointer tool, T, then T again, select the whole area that was highlighted, and now I can create a duct or a lift, and it'll be an even horizontal line throughout the whole area I selected. So now when I do the playback, it'll stay consistent for that area. So that's if you want to do a parameter change between sections, and you wanted to keep it consistent throughout that section, but then restore it to default after that section ends. And that's just a neat way you could do that. Okay. So the third way you could actually change automation is actually through a live, and that's simply by changing the automation mode, and it's by setting it either to touch, latch, or write, and I'll talk about that later. Okay, so now let's talk about parameters. So in order to change the parameter you want to have automated, you simply go right here and then from there it'll give you various options. So if I want to change something specifically on a plugin, you'll see it here depending on what plugin you already have. So if I want to go and change my EQ, I could just go here, select the band I want to change, and I could automate that parameter. What I want to do right now is actually do panning. Okay, so I have panning selected. So now that I have the parameter set to panning, I'm going to show you, I'm going to have in between that duck, I'm going to change the pan as well. So I have the area selected with the Marquee Tool, and then from there, I'm going to use the pointer and drag it down. Now it's going to pan. So let's play back and hear that. So you hear now the volume increases. Returns back to center, and then volume ducks again. So you could write different types of automations at the same time. It's only per parameter. So let's talk about automation modes now. So I mentioned that you could use 3 of these to do live automation changes. So by default, it's normally set to read, which will allow you to pre-write all the automations, but it won't allow you to do live automations. So touch mode is when you do live automation during playback, and then as soon as you release the parameter change, it's going to go back to its default state. So let me show you. I'm going to go here into this area, and I'm going to change it now to touch mode. So just cycle through here to make it a little bit easier, and then I'm going to open here. So these are the different controls. Let's see. Let me actually open my mixer. Okay. So I'm just gonna do a panning touch. So let me press play. As you can see, now I can control the panning. As soon as I let it go though, it goes back to 0. Let me go the other way. See? It goes back. Now I'm just gonna let it play through. And this is a very specific thing between the difference between these two, next two and right is that it only changes parameters when I'm moving the parameter. When it's not moving, it won't overwrite it. So next thing I want to go is to latch mode. So I'm gonna first restore these. Let's go to latch mode. So now I'm set in latch mode. So the difference between touch and latch mode is that it won't reset to its default value. So parameter change, now it's gonna stay there. It doesn't reset back to center. Same way with the other side. It's not gonna reset back to the right pan. So now I have to manually go in, and then I'm gonna let it play back. As soon as it plays back, it's not gonna change the parameter until I start moving it again. Then it'll start overwriting. So if I don't touch the parameter change when it plays back, it won't overwrite it. So the last thing I want to do is talk about write mode. And you get a warning when you go into write mode because it does erase. So when you do playback in write mode, it'll overwrite whatever parameters you have left. So if you're not changing the parameter and you leave it in the center, for example with pan, it's going to overwrite everything. You'll see that here. Now everything that I did before is being deleted because it's just writing with playback. Now I'm going to do some panning. I'm just going to leave it there. Yep. As soon as you stop the playback, write mode goes back to whatever last mode you have it. So if you have it set to read mode, it will default to read. Right now it defaulted back to touch. But as long as write mode is on, it will overwrite whatever you have in playback. So again, just to show you, because it's very important to know about this one, if I just let it play and I just leave it at whatever I had it left the parameter at, it's going to overwrite all the parameter changes I've done. So there's different ways you could automate a track too, and it's just going over the last parameter that's up here, which is, you can see here, it's going to say track or region. So if you do by track, it's just going to do the whole track from the beginning of the project to the end of the project. If I do it by region, now it's only going to do certain regions at a time. So if I want to do, let's say this one, it's only going to do the track that I recorded since I have it on loop. So in region mode, if I do something like a volume duck, consistent volume duck here, I'm just going to do it here, do it here. Then let's say, yep, there you go. It's going to repeat since I have it on loop. So, let's hear it. It's going to duck out, and then it's going to come back in. And it's going to repeat that. So if you have a track on loop and you set it to region mode, it's going to repeat whatever automation you did. Now, if you have just a normal track, you're only going to be setting the automation for the region. The automation points set for these two are actually different. So you could just automate certain sections at a time, like let's say here. Let's say I just want to do a small dip right here, but I don't want to enable automation for the rest of the track. Oops. So I have to set the track mode, setting it to region now. Do a quick zoom in. Now automation is only enabled for that. So now I can just change the volume at this point. This ends my introduction to Automation Logic Pro 10. Now if you have any questions, feel free to post below in the comments section. If you want to keep up to date with audio related content, feel free to like this video and subscribe to my page. Thank you all for watching and hope to see you all next time.